Hey there, so in this video I'm covering a whole bunch of things. So there are time codes. There's time codes in the description, time codes in the pinned comments, and right here, these are the time codes. So I'm covering my boat, the sale of my boat, the purchase of an ex-boat. I'm covering some YouTubers and some people. I'm covering quite a big section on costs of getting into spearfishing. So like if you're sort of a new diver or you're sort of getting into it, or you're thinking about getting into it in the early stages of getting into diving and spearfishing, I really recommend watching that segment because it's a bit of a reality check type of a segment, you know, on the costs you're going to incur if you get into this. And then at the end of the video, talking sort of more about you know, dive plans for next year. So yeah, that's what's coming up in this video. So it's a big long talk video. You know, you don't have to watch all of it, but you know, it's all there in the time code, so if you want to watch bits of it, you can. Oh, look at that. Jamie's sitting in his kitchen again, talking to the camera. So you know what type of video this is going to be, don't you? So if you've been subscribed to this channel for longer than a year or two, you know that this is sort of what I do. This is part of the routine, the yearly routine, because on Kiwi Kaimoana, the routine is not just for one video. There's an entire routine for the entire calendar year. And as I say in the trailer to the channel, it's mainly based on the fact that, you know, the diving here is seasonal. Yeah. So usually what I do, and this video is sort of similar, is I make one of these kind of talking head videos where I just express my thoughts and feelings, and it's like the midwinter thing, and it's sort of similar to what I do at the end of the dive season. I do like an end of season dive wrap up video, but then I sort of do another one in winter, which is sort of talking about what's coming up, you know, and you know what the thoughts and ideas are and plans, you know, for the next dive year, that sort of thing. So there's a bunch of things I'm going to be covering in this video. But the first thing that I'll get to is the boat. Now, the existing boat is, as of now, when I publish this video, for sale. So, the boat is a Trukit Discovery 3.3 meter, and it has a Parson 15 horsepower outboard motor. And the Parson is, I think it's a 2015 model outboard, so it's 8 years old. It has unknown hours. It's probably, if we had to guess, maybe, you know, 50 hours of running time. I've actually just recently done a wee bit of maintenance on it. I've greased it and done the gear oil change, put new spark plugs in. But overall, that outboard is in pretty good condition. So the outboard is 8 years old and the boat is 2 years old, because I bought that boat in 2021. So, you know, if you want to see more about the boat, I would recommend having a look at the review video, which is the Trukit Discovery inflatable boat review, which is on this channel, recently published. There was one person, I don't know if that one person is watching this video, there was one person actually probably 6 months or a year ago who left a comment on one of the videos saying that they would actually like to buy my boat. Look, I don't know whether or not the boat is honestly going to sell, because this particular time of the year is a bad time of the year to try to sell a boat, any kind of boat really, because it's winter. You know, if you're going to go and buy a boat in winter, you can't necessarily go out there and use it straight away. You know, it depends on what you're going to use it for. But, you know, like this type of boat is a springtime, summertime boat, and it's the sort of thing you would use for diving, snorkeling, or, you know, maybe rod fishing for, you know, 1 or 2 people. Anyway, it's for sale for $4,500 as a package. So the boat and the outboard motor together for $4,500. If you want to buy it, you must pick up here in Christchurch. I'm not going to try to post the thing to anyone. You know, so the best way to get in contact with me if you're interested is go to the Kiwi Kaimoana Facebook page. So there is a Facebook on there is a page, a Kiwi Kaimoana page on Facebook. And there's actually not many people that are following me on Facebook because I don't really promote it very much, but it's there. So the boat is for sale, you know, as of now. And then after a few weeks, I will probably pay the fee to put the boat on Trade Me as well. And this is all part of a bigger, grander plan. And the bigger, grander plan, at least at this stage, is to get an Osprey 380S. Now, I just want to preface this by when I'm talking about the plan, right? The plan to get the next boat. I don't want to get into like too many specifics and kind of hard details and stuff because things can change. You know, things can change because you know, there could be a different boat that comes up that's available, and so I end up buying something else, or things can change because I could get some sort of unexpected bill for something, you know. I mean, you never know what can happen in life, you know. Like, I'm sure we've all had that point in our lives where we had unexpected vehicle repairs, where your car fails its warrant and then you got to spend $1,000 fixing the car. You know, this sort of thing, you know. So this sort of thing does happen. So I don't want to get bogged down too many specifics, but basically, here's the plan. I know a guy who has an Osprey 380S and is willing to sell it to me, and he's not actually sort of actively like putting it out there for sale and stuff on Trade Me, but it's actually a pretty ideal boat for what I want to do. So if you've been watching the videos for the past couple of years, you will be familiar with seeing my TrueKit Discovery, that inflatable. And you know, if you've been paying attention, when you look at Chris and I, or Ying and I, getting on that boat, the deck space of the boat, because it's a small inflatable, the deck space just fills up real quick and there's no space for anything. You know, you put your fins in there, your mask and your snorkel and, you know, your dry bag and all kinds of stuff, and the boat just fills up and it's completely full. And it hasn't been a very comfortable boat to use in the ocean because of that, and really my usage of that boat has really been restricted to inside the harbours. So like when I take it out to Littleton Harbour, I can't take it out into the open ocean because it's just, there's a combination of factors. Probably the main thing is that it doesn't handle rough water very well because of the flat bottom and the pontoons. You know, it just, as soon as you hit waves, it's just bouncing over the waves rather than cutting through the waves, because that's why you want the traditional V-shaped hull boat. You know, they've been building boats like that for thousands of years, and they've been building like that for a reason. There's also the low sides, which means water splashes in, so it's less comfortable. You know, it's just the pontoon sides. Yeah, there's just a combination of factors. On the very low bench seats, it's not a very comfortable boat to ride in, to be honest. You know, I mean, it's all right if you're just going short distances inside a harbour, but you know, trying to go for longer trips on it, it's not really a very comfortable boat. So it has served its purpose for a couple of years, but basically it's up for sale now. I don't expect that it's going to sell quickly. I think it's probably going to take quite some time before the right buyer comes along, because I'm not in a hurry to sell the boat. So you know, if someone comes along and they start lowballing and saying, oh, I'll give you $3,000 for the whole thing, it's like, no, you pay what I'm asking or you don't buy it. You know, there's a lot of other people out there on Trade Me that are selling boats as well. And you know, you'll see boats for sale on Trade Me that have been sitting there for, you know, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months or longer, because you know, when you've put that much money into something, unless you really badly need to sell it, then you're not going to shortchange yourself, you know, and sell it for, you know, way under its value. You're just going to sort of just wait for the right buyer to come along, I suppose. I mean, anyone that can afford to buy a decent sized boat in the first place is probably not someone that's desperate for money, you know, and badly needs money anyway. So it's just a case of it'll take as long as it takes for it to sell. So the boat's for sale, and if you want to buy it, get in touch with me on Kiwi Kaimoana on Facebook. And I am also willing to sell the blue garden trailer that I've been using to launch the boat for approximately $1,000. It may or may not have a warrant of fitness and rego at the time. It really just depends on who buys it, when they buy it, etc. So that's the boat. So I want to talk just a little bit about people right now too. I'll talk about some of my existing dive buddies first, and I won't get into too many specifics, but I've just found out from Chris that he's about to go overseas back to the UK for 3 months for the entire New Zealand, well, you know, most of the New Zealand winter, which is good. I'm sort of jealous of him. You know, he has enough flexibility in his life that he can do that. So Chris is the main guy that I dive with, and he's actually going back overseas to do some work and also to do some diving, spearfishing, and have a holiday whilst he's over there. And then there's Ying, and she got a blue wetsuit. I'll post some photos up right here in the video. So what happened was we recently had a kind of a swap meet event. The Spearfishing Club kind of did like a swap meet thing. Anyway, Ying, as it relates to Ying, I bought a wetsuit for her. So we went to this spearfishing thing and this event, and Ian gets up, and you know, because he's auctioning off some stuff that needs to move, and no one's buying it, and he says, all right, here is a woman's wetsuit. It's an immersed brand wetsuit, 3mm. I can't remember the size, like small or something. Ideally suit a woman approximately 65 or 70 kilograms. And of course, you know, like the whole room is like a bunch of, you know, men aged sort of 30 to 40, you know, like no one's buying this wetsuit. No one's interested in this wetsuit. And I'm thinking about Ying, and I'm thinking, she might want that. That might be good for her, because I've been sort of telling her she should get a better wetsuit rather than the surfing wetsuit she's been using for diving. So like you hear the bids start and it's like $5, yeah, $10, yeah, $15. Do I hear more? Do I hear 20? Do I hear 20? So I'm like, okay, $40. And, you know, and then like no one else outbid me for $40, and then Ian's like, sold for $40. So I'm very appreciative that Ian was willing to sell this wetsuit for that cheap, because this is like a $300 wetsuit. You know, this particular model of wetsuit, I don't think you can buy it anymore, but when you could buy it a few years ago, this was a $300 wetsuit. So Ying's got a $300 wetsuit. So at some point over the summer, you know, I'll go diving with Ying again, and she'll be wearing that $300 wetsuit. I'm also hoping to possibly do at least one dive, if not more than one dive, with a fella named Tasman over the next summertime dive season. Tasman is the guy from NZ Wild Adventures, so it's a collab, or at least it will be. And so NZ Wild Adventures, Tasman goes out and he does sort of hunting and fishing and diving, so it's one of those sort of outdoor pursuit channels, and he has a wee bit of flexibility in his life as well, allowing him to go out and do some of these trips. And he's done a few trips out, you know, around Banks Peninsula. He's done some up in the Marlborough Sounds, he's done some in Fiordland. He did a recent circumnavigation of Stewart Island in his small inflatable boat with an 18 horsepower Tohatsu 2-stroke on the back. Really impressive stuff, honestly, you know, very ambitious sort of fishing and diving. And but he lives locally here, and so I've talked to him on the phone a couple of times, and you know, when the time comes, we will hopefully get together for a dive at some point. So that's Tasman. And there is another couple of people, I won't get into names and stuff, specifics. There's a couple more people that I've sort of spoken to, you know, online or over the phone, and you know, and they want to come out and dive with me as well. And that just sort of leads me a wee bit down another rabbit hole too, which was that it's been quite nice actually recently I've been recognised, actually probably several times, more times than what I was expecting to be recognised. It's very unusual. I think it just speaks to the fact that there are approximately 600 people who watch this channel. You know, look, you can't look at the person's number of subscribers and make a determination on, you know, how many are actually watching. Like, this channel has got just over 3,000 subscribers, but a lot of those subscribers are like old accounts, that people that subscribed 10 years ago before I was even making dive videos. But you know, the people who are actually watching this channel now, they're a combination of subscribed and not subscribed, but You know, the key figure is a thing called returning viewers. So when you go to your YouTube analytics and you look at, you find that number for returning viewers, that's actually the indication, and it's a group of not subscribed and subscribed together. Like, it gives you a rough number. These are your returning viewers are the ones who are repeatedly coming back and actually watching your videos. And Kiwi Kaimoana is actually about 600 people. So a lot of these people, they do this stuff too. They do fishing and diving too. And so it happens. It's happened at boat ramps. It's happened at on the shore in Kaikoura a few times. Quite often, actually. It's always nice, you know, when someone sort of says hi and that. Geez, it's even happened a couple of times in the city centre in Christchurch recently. Like, I work an outdoors job where I sort of wear. Let me put it this way: I don't talk about my job online, and for good reason. But I sort of wear clothing that makes me sort of stand out, and like, you notice me when I'm on the street. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. But you know, people who know me and they sort of say hi, and it's like, geez, you know, like I was wearing a hat and I was wearing dark glasses, and you still recognise me. Anyway, so it was nice to see some people recently who introduced themselves to me. You know who you are. I want, you know. And then there's other people who have sort of, you know, left YouTube comments and stuff, you know, at various stages in the past, and you know, they sort of say that it would be nice to go diving with you at some point, and I just want to sort of kind of address that. So here's the thing, here's what I've been saying to people, and that is that if you want to spend time with me, you should actually spend time with the Spearfishing Club instead, and you might just happen to meet me at some point. Look, honestly, when you're talking about diving and having a good time going diving and having a good diving trip and stuff, there's a lot of the people in the local club and that who are way better at this than what I am. You know, more skilled, got better boats, you know, more knowledge. Just, you know, you'll have a much better time with them than you will with me. So what I've been saying to people is, you know, and I think a lot of this is actually people who are quite new to it, and they're like, they're at the position where I was 3 years ago, where I didn't know much about the sport. I didn't really know the people in the sport and stuff. Honestly, like if you're one of these people who's in this situation, you're still quite new to it, like, you know, less than 1 year experience sort of thing. But you want to do more and you want to get involved, the best thing you can do is join that Spearfishing Club. It's South Island Spearfishing and Freediving Club. It's mostly based in Christchurch, but there are members from all around the South Island, but mostly based in Christchurch. And, you know, there's probably a couple of hundred paid up members, and probably, I don't even know how many thousand, a couple of thousand or a few thousand Facebook members on the Facebook page. And again, look, you know, I've met some really amazing, skilled, knowledgeable, awesome people through the Spearfishing Club. If you go back and you watch season 3's videos, it's like episode 5, 6, 7. It's like spearfishing at the seal colony, what is it, free diving down the line, going deeper. Those 2 videos, I can't remember if there was a third one, but I made about 2 or 3 videos last year where I was at Kaikoura with the Spearfishing Club, and you actually saw those other people in the video. It's been really a valuable thing to do, and that leads me into cost. So yeah, cost. So the cost to attend, okay, well, I don't even know where to start with this, but I'm going to be talking about, in this section of the video, I'm going to be talking about the costs, the realistic costs that are involved and will be incurred by you if you choose to participate in this sport. And this kind of includes fishing as well, rod fishing, like boat fishing, because the boat is sort of the big cost, or one of the big costs. If you participate in the Kaikoura trip, Like last year's price for that was $250 per person, and that included accommodation for 3 nights, food for 3 days, because they had a few people who were volunteering to cook the meals and stuff. And basically for 3 days you went out every day, and you either did shore dive or you did boat dive, because some of the club members are financially wealthy people with quite big boats, and they're able to take passengers and stuff. And it's actually a fairly low stress club trip. So you arrive, and it's like the Friday night or something, and it happens over Labour weekend, and you get up in the morning, and it's like about 10 in the morning. You sort of leave and you go to a launch location or a dive location in Kaikoura, dive for about 3 hours, and that's like your main dive. Just one dive in the middle of the day, and then the rest of the day you can either continue diving if you want, further into the afternoon, or you can go fishing or do your own thing, whatever you want to do. Come back, and then in the evening everyone gets around the old campfire and they get inside around the sofas and socialise. It's actually very social. It's really awesome. And so I've only been on one of these trips with the Spearfishing Club, and this was this Kaikoura trip, but I really want to do more of them. But all of them have significant cost attached to them. Yeah. There's another event that happens, which I haven't done, called the Sounds Summer Slam, which is where you go up in the Marlborough Sounds for a week, and you live on this big yacht, and you go, you do like blue water spearfishing, looking for kingfish and stuff. And I haven't done that one, but that's $2,500 for that trip. Now this year in 2023, what Ian was planning to do with Raymond and the San Nicolas, which is the Spiky Gold Hunter Kenner boat, the original plan was to go down to Milford Sound, I believe, and dive, do like a week's diving in that. And I think they did the $4,000 tickets, I think it was. But so the trip was like a 9-day trip for $4,000. And but actually you needed a permit to do it, and so they ended up going to Stewart Island instead. But Stewart Island is also quite a good location for for spearfishing. Hopefully you don't run into the great white sharks down there though. Look, a lot of the bigger trips that are in the Spearfishing Club are a significant financial cost. So really, this part of the video, I'm trying to speak directly to the people who are wanting to enter this sport but don't know a lot about it yet. And I don't know the best way to say it without scaring people off. This sport is ridiculously expensive. It is so much more expensive than I could ever imagine. It costs so much to do this. This is a rich person's sport. The wealth requirement to do spearfishing in New Zealand is huge. It's a rich people's sport. I'm not rich. I'm middle income. And when you're middle income and you're trying to do this, it's a bit of a struggle. But look, I want to tell it like it is. Now, there are, I have to further, elaborate on what I mean, because I can already see there are going to be, people hitting the YouTube comments on the old keyboards already to try to shoot down what I've just told you. Now, we have to consider what is the overall scope of what it is I'm actually talking about. Now, there are people around New Zealand who happen to live in good shore dive locations. So people who live up in the far north, we're talking, around, Whangarei to Cape Reinga, those places. There are some great shore dive locations up there because it's a small community, small populations. Coromandel is like that as well. If you live around the Coromandel Peninsula, there are some quite good shore dive locations that you can drive to Again, a bit of a, less of a population. Kaikoura down here in the South Island is excellent overall. It's excellent for shore diving because you've got a big stretch of coastline to choose from. And Bluff, if you live down around Bluff, excellent shore diving. You've got this entire peninsula down there. You can just, and there's rocks everywhere. Great place to go shore diving. So there are people who live in these communities who dive in these specific locations, and in their mind, spearfishing is not an expensive sport. It's not a wealthy sport. You don't need to invest a lot of money to participate in this. And those people are in a fortunate and privileged position because they happen to geographically live in one of those ideal diving places. And all of these places have certain things about them that make them ideal and good. Like in Bluff, for example, like down south, when you go down south, like sort of south of, honestly, like Milford Sound, Bluff, Stewart Island, that whole southern region, all of the fish species tend to grow quite big, and the pawas grow big. You got big pawas, big crays, big blue cod, big butterfish, big everything, and not so much of a big population of people down there fishing and spearfishing, which is ideal. And so that's one of the upsides to that. In Kaikoura, again, less of a population. The crayfish fishery up there though gets a bit hammered, so the crays don't grow very big, but there's enough of a fish species there for you to, you can target different fish. You can go after blue cod, you can go after butterfish. There's different fish species you can shoot there, Kaikoura. And then when you get up into those far north locations, for example, you've got a whole different range of fish species up there. You've got blue mau-maus and demoiselles and snappers. You just trevallies, just those fish species you tend to see in the North Island. Anyway, I digress. Now the rest of New Zealand is sandy beaches. All right, so I've had this happen in the past, right? So you people who live in those pockets where there's good shore diving, have a look at the rest of New Zealand. Have a look at the rest of the coastline. It's sandy beaches like just about everywhere. Even here in Christchurch, it's sandy beaches, and we have to go out onto Banks Peninsula to try to find some decent diving. But the thing about Banks Peninsula, the whole peninsula, it's like one big mountain, and it's like one big series of mountains, because it's two volcanoes that are no longer active and haven't been for a long time. And it's all boat accessible only. Like there isn't roading infrastructure to drive you to all of those little bays and stuff all around Banks Peninsula. Like, you have to have a boat to do it. So now we get into the cost of the boats. So there's real cost involved in the events, and there are people who live in those good shore dive locations who will tell you that it's not expensive, but actually, to be honest, there's a lot of cost involved, and a lot of it is the boat. For a lot of people who want to participate in this sport, you have to go where the fish are, and that's kind of the big problem. And if you live inland and you're not on the coast, then there is a significant cost to you incurred in commuting to get to the ocean, to get to where the fish are. And that's a huge barrier to entry, and this is sort of what separates the people who are like the hunters from the fishers. So like if you lived on a farm, or on a lifestyle block up in the mountains or something, you're far more likely to be getting yourself a rifle and going, and hunt. Shoot deer, shoot wallabies, shoot rabbits, shoot goats, pigs, rather than try to go all the way to the ocean to, go spearfishing. And then if you live on the coast, close to the water, it'll be the opposite. Now, living on the coast is only half the battle. So, if you're wanting to get into the sport, if you're wanting to get into spearfishing, there's so much cost involved. Obviously, like in this day and age, the petrol cost is a huge one. It's a huge one. Like when I go and I make a video where I go to Tangaroa from where I live here, because I live quite close to the city centre here in Christchurch, and I go to Tangaroa, it's about a 1 hour 10-minute drive. Typically costs me about $60 in petrol for a return trip. That's what it costs. And if I go up to moana and return, same thing. That's what it costs in both time and petrol. Now my existing current setup is the TrueKit Discovery 3.3 metre, which costs $4,000 to buy it new, and that pass and outboard motor, which costs about $2,700 to buy it new. You know, that's the costs involved for, and this is for a boat that I'm been telling you in this video is actually a bit substandard and ill-equipped boat for what I actually want to do. That's what it costs. Of course, you've got to spend even more money because you've got to buy the 2-stroke engine oil for the fuel tank, and you've got to put petrol in the fuel tank for the boat, so there's more cost. And if you're choosing to do what I've done and using a garden trailer, you've got to buy a trailer. Or you can pay with your time. This is actually what Tasman does. He pays with his time. Tasman takes his inflatable and actually inflates it there at the boat ramp or at the beach, wherever he's setting up. That's what I used to do. Oh boy, I got real tired of that real quick, you know. Because you know, when you're paying with your time there, you're spending a half an hour on each end inflating the damn thing, getting it set up. Geez, I remember the first few times I took that boat out. I went out there to Wainui and like I break out the boat and I arrive there after an hour, driving for an hour and a quarter, and it's like, okay, now it's my half-hour setup time for my boat, you know, and then it's like another 15 minutes to, you know, to have a wee rest and make sure everything's ready, and yeah. And then meanwhile, other guys, like you see other people arrive, you know, and they pull over in Wainui, and it's like the boat's already there on the trailer, ready to go, and they're putting on their wetsuits, and it takes 5 minutes, and it's like, right, let's go, boys. And I just watch them, and it's like, yeah, I'll see you later. Anyway, so you sort of need a trailer, right? So this is what I do now, you know, get a trailer. So a trailer, you know, and my trailer's like an old 1979 iron home-built trailer. Real tough, sturdy trailer, but you know, $1,000, so that's another $1,000. So this is, you know, and my car to tow the thing, right? So I've got a 2000 Mitsubishi RVA. I don't know if you can just see it through the blinds there. I bought that car several years ago for $6,000. It's probably worth half that now. It's probably worth $3,000. Sold it now. I'm not really happy with that car. I want to get something a little bit more modern and go for probably a Subaru Outback, you know, station wagon hatchback, something like that. So that's the amount of wealth that I've been able to put into this sport, and even for me, it's still a struggle. Now you look at what some of the other people have got, right? Look, I have to try not to be sound like the real jealous person or something, you know, in this video. But anyway, look, if you're paying attention and you watch some of these videos, pay attention to what you're actually seeing in the videos, because some of these people are damn wealthy, because you would have to be wealthy to be able to afford some of the things that these people use. You will see a person, like today, I watched a video from Salty Dog's Coromandel, and in that video you can see a Stabicraft 1450 Frontier. Now I don't know what the horsepower size is on that boat, but I know that that boat is like a $35,000 boat, roughly. Maybe it's $30,000, maybe it's $40,000. I'm going to say $35,000, somewhere in around that neighborhood. So just the boat alone on that particular video, you know, exceeds the value of the stuff that I've got. All right? So pay attention to what boat you're seeing, and then have a look at the trailer. You know, because you know, I'm talking about, we're looking at other people's YouTube videos here. Have a look at the trailer that they're using. Have a look at the car they're using. Some of these people have got, you know, big $50,000 Toyota Hilux utes that they're using to tow their boats. Pay attention to that stuff. And then at the end of the video, where they come back and you know, do the catch and cook. You know, let's cook it all up, and then you have a look, and you know, large modern house. You know. This is the thing, right? There is a huge unspoken barrier to entry in this sport, And I think this is actually why the views on these particular videos do quite well, because I think that there's a lot of people out there that would love to be able to do this, and they can't, and they never will, just because of the barrier to entry. Now, it's just like creating a YouTube video, right? What I'm doing right now. You know, back in the 1980s, the 1990s, you know, there was a big barrier to entry to be able to create a video production of some sort and actually have an audience. And that barrier to entry was, you know, the gatekeepers, right? And you know, the technology. A good one to watch is that movie Wayne's World from 1991. You know, because in the movie Wayne's World, you see a couple of guys producing their own little television show, and they have to put it onto a public access TV station. But they have to do all the production themselves, you know, and fund it all themselves. And it's still quite a low budget production, you know, and then they get this late night time slot, and it has to, you know, it's not an on-demand thing. It goes on TV and you have to watch it live. You know, so the information technology world that we live in now is so much different, you know, because, you know, back then there was a huge barrier to entry, but now with video production, with the amazing cameras we have now, and we have, you know, the YouTube platform and other video platforms, there's a much lower barrier to entry. Like, anyone can go and make a YouTube video now. And when I see people making dive videos, you can sort of see the disparity in wealth actually between the different levels of people that create these videos. Because when you see like the person who's making shore dive videos in the same spot over and over and over, you know, versus the person who's got the big Stabicraft boat with the, you know, the big Toyota Hilux ute, and then they launch the boat and they go out and they're shooting kingfish and stuff, and, you know, you can actually see the disparity in wealth with the people in the videos. And it's one of these things that no one talks about and says it out loud. And like, I'm not saying it from a jealousy point of view, because as I see it, I'm sort of somewhere in the middle, because like, there are a lot of people out there that would like to be able to do what I do. You know, even though I do not have fancy stuff, I have a certain level of gear and stuff, but there's a whole nother level well above me that, you know, are people that they got some pretty fancy gear. And I don't even know how they afford it. They must be, you know, have good jobs on good incomes. Like, you have a look at that Rowan Hook Wetty Southland. You look at that big orange boat he's got called the Lobster Mobster. I'd have a heart attack thinking about how much what that boat costs. My goodness, you know, it's a fancy boat, nice boat. But anyway, I won't rant on and on and on about wealth, but like, I just want to, the reason that I'm talking about it is that I just want to sort of say to the people who want to be involved with this sport and want to get started with it, there is a significant financial cost involved in doing this. If you want to just get fish, if your goal is to actually just get fish, then what I would suggest you to do is actually break out the calculator. If you just wanted fish, I would actually have a think about a couple of things first. If you just want fish, I would actually say, well, how much fish would you eat in a week? What species of fish are acceptable or palatable to you? How much money would you spend on a weekly basis or a monthly basis or a yearly basis on said fish, like if you were to pay normal retail price for it? And come up with a dollar figure, right? So over the course of the year, so like, let's just say if you were going to spend $50 a week on fish, you know, whatever that amount is, or maybe like less than that, $10 a week on fish, you know, and that's what you would spend if you were buying fish retail. And right, and then you times that by 52 weeks. Okay, so that's $520 a year, you know, or $20 a week on fish. All right, so, you know, $1,040 per year, right? So if your goal was just getting Kaimoana, just getting fish, and you don't really care that much about the fishing or the diving or the experience, just consider what it would cost you to actually regularly buy fish and then compare it to what I'm about to tell you about, which is that the costs involved in the gear. Yeah. Like buying a wetsuit, an open cell wetsuit, is around about $300 to $400. And that's just for one off the shelf. That's not for like a custom made one. If you get a custom made one that's you know, custom made for your body size and everything like that, make it more comfortable, you know, you're talking more like sort of $600, $700, $800. You know, getting a spear gun is $200 to $300 for a basic one. Getting a weight belt, you know, you're talking about another $150 for the belt plus the weights. Getting fins, if you've got real basic cheap ones, we're talking freediving fins, you know, getting basic cheap freediving fins, a couple of $100. Getting fancy ruku blades or you know, decent fiberglass or you know, carbon fiber fins, you're talking like another $500. Getting a decent mask, like another $100. Gloves, like another $40 or $50. Booties, another $30 or $40. So that's just the gear to kit you out as a diver. Getting a float line, like another $20, another float, depending on what type of float you got. Let's just say you got a basic foam float, like another $40. Catch bag, another $40. Right, so boat, okay. If you got my boat, new, you know, you're talking somewhere around $7,500. If you went and bought a little, a small frying tinny second-hand, you know, same size as mine, 3.5 meters with like a 15 horsepower, you're probably talking something like $5,000 to $6,000. If you bought a Mac 360 plastic boat, got one of those, geez, you're talking, you know, for an old one with like a small 15 horsepower on the back, you know, you're talking $4,000 on a trailer. For, you know, a nice fancy one with a slightly bigger motor, like a 20 or a 30 horsepower, you're talking $8,000, $9,000, $10,000. You know, so and then like you're talking about, okay, so here's another one, Ollie Craig's boat, the Senator IS 400 Spearfisher. You're talking somewhere in the range of $30,000 to $40,000. Right, if you watch the old Ollie Craig Reef Hunter, you know, that Senator IS 400. Or like Rocket Kit, another one, the Australian guy. That boat is usually, I think they're about $35,000, if I quote correctly, $35,000 for that. So yeah, whew. And then after you've got that stuff, alright, you've got maintenance costs. So like just today, I had to go and buy myself a grease gun, just to be able to grease the outboard motor, because annually it's got a grease nipple, requires you to grease the main you know, turn shaft thing on it. You know, grease guns, $50. Grease tubes, another $20. Had to buy the gear oil to replace the gear oil on it the other day, so the gear oil was another $20. I had to buy spark plugs to replace the spark plugs, that was like another $30. So, you know, and this is just for a basic outboard, right? And you got as I said before in the video, though, those ongoing costs for fuel and petrol and stuff. There's big costs involved in doing this. And then, like I said earlier in the video too, you know, you go on some of these big spearfishing trips, and yeah, they cost a lot of money as well. So, look, those are some of the costs involved in actually doing this. So, if you're wanting to get into this, like if you're one of these people who wants to get into it, then just have a wee think about it, about how much money. As far as I know, there aren't any spearfishing channels, diving channels that have made a video like this where they've actually just talked about the costs involved and broken it all down, and done so for the point of actually getting to people to sort of think twice about, do you really want to get into this? Because this is what it's going to cost, and it costs a shitload of money. But look, the reason I do it is, for me, it's more about the experience. Like, if around me here in Christchurch, if it was all marine reserve and you couldn't even go fishing at all, I'd probably still go snorkeling, and I'd probably still make You know, I'd probably go out into the ocean like just a few times over the course of the summer and just snorkel and make snorkeling videos and just, you know, scenic snorkeling videos. Because I love being in the water. I love it. It's just that feeling of weightlessness and that feeling of, you know, freedom and then when you dive down, you're in this kind of underwater realm, and, you know, you're a guest there and you're only permitted to be there for a short amount of time because, you know, it's not where you're supposed to be, right? So when you go into the underwater realm, you know, you're required to hold your breath to get down there, which puts you there for a limited time. Or if you go scuba diving, you've got a tank which has only got like an hour's worth of air, so it puts you down there for a limited time. And then the fact that you are driving to the place where you're going to go swimming, and, you know, swimming, diving, you know, whatever, and then you have to go back at the end of the day, again, puts you there for a limited time. So yeah, for me, like, a lot of it is the experience. And even though it costs a hell of a lot of money, like, it's as much for the experience as it is for the fish. Like, I would still be doing this if I was not catching any fish whatsoever. That said though, like, I don't think I'll be doing it forever. You know, I've talked about this before, I don't think I'll be doing it forever. That just about wraps it up. You know, I just wanted to have a decent talk about this stuff, just for people who are thinking about doing this. Just to finish up the video here, I just want to quickly talk about you know, the next year. I'm not going to try to overthink it in terms of like what I'm going to be doing over the next summer, because there's a variety of different factors involved. Like, there are certain people that I want to go diving with, and, you know, I have to work in with them, they have to work in with me. The one thing that I can say for sure is that this next summer I really want to start prioritizing moana. I don't even know how you say it. If someone can correct me. Moana? Moana? I'll call it moana. Moana, right? So Moana Island, I've never dived there. I've driven there once. I've watched other people's YouTube videos of it. I've actually been a little bit scared of kind of going there, because there's an estuary, there's a bar crossing, there are currents. Over the last couple of years, I prioritized other things. I prioritized getting used to the boat, getting used to outboard motors, going out there to like Littleton because it's closer, going out there to Tangaroa because the weather forecast was better, and I did that like several times with Chris. And the last 2 years, the whole dive season has come and gone, and I haven't gone to moana. So that's the main thing that I really want to do. Like at the time that I'm publishing this video, and I realise it's been a real long video, and if you've watched all the way to the end, you know, I really appreciate it. You know, thanks for watching. But if you've been paying attention, I've actually dived quite a lot in Kaikoura, because it's a great shore dive location. You don't have to bring your boat, you can just go there, get suited up, and then go and dive. And I've mainly dived there during the paua seasons. But, you know, in the future, I want to really try to prioritise for the next couple of years moana. So instead of going to Tangaroa all the time, I really want to get to moana, because we know that there's crayfish in moana. And when I look at my dive progress over the past 3 years, like in season 1 I had the kayak, and I was really just getting mussels, to be honest. Mostly it's just like easy to get to shellfish, you know, and I was still really learning how to do things. And, you know, and then season 2 come along, and the paua season opened up in Kaikoura, so I had a chance to sort of go to Kaikoura and dive for paua. Plus I got the true kit with the Tahatsu 9.8, you know, outboard, so I was able to finally start going out there and actually going a bit further out into, you know, to get some stuff. And then season 3 come along, which was last dive season. I got the spear gun, joined the spearfishing club, and that has opened up a whole nother world to me again. You know, met new people, have gone to some more locations on Kaikoura that I hadn't been to before. Actually started shooting fish, you know, with a spear gun. And season 4, right? So this next dive season again coming is going to be another step forward. And, you know, I'm hoping that this next step is going to bring crayfish. I'm hoping it's going to bring butterfish, maybe shooting some other fish species, you know, maybe shoot blue murky or something like that. And it'll bring, you know, moana as well, you know, going to somewhere that I haven't been to before. So you know, if you sort of have a wee look at my progression, and it's been a slow progression, but there has been a progression of skills and experience and stuff. You know, it is ticking along, and it goes to show that when you watch these videos, other people's, you know, videos, that a lot of times what you're seeing is someone that's already been doing it for a long time. And with me, what you're actually seeing is you're seeing someone who's starting on zero, with like zero experience with doing this, and then taking on year by year the challenge of diving and spearfishing and stuff. And so again, someone who is just getting into this is where you really should be paying attention to. You look at my progression, and you know, it's representative of what a typical person might possibly go through. But again, like I said earlier in the video, it depends on where you live. You know, so not everyone has the same advantages, you know. Not everyone lives in the great dive spots. Okay, now videos for the rest of the year. And it's probably going to be, I'm going to say late October or beginning of November is going to be the next point in time this year where you're going to actually start to see dive videos coming out on this Kiwi Kaimoana channel. So we've still got July, August, September, October. You've basically got a 4-month dead space now where you're not going to see many videos. But look, hey, if you've been subscribed to this channel for longer than 1 year, you'll know that this is part of the routine, as I explained at the start of this video. Routine. The routine in this channel is that there is dead space in the middle of the year. So in the future, I'll be filling that dead space with some of the, you know, tech videos, like what I've done, you know, last few videos, like the propeller video and the boat review video, the spear gun video, you know, diving fins review, that kind of thing. So, you know, those technical videos will be what fills that space, you know, in subsequent years going forwards. So what's happening this year is basically I start diving again generally in September, or at least I try to, because in September we're finally out of winter and the water is starting to warm up, the air is starting to warm up, and the weather is starting to become more settled. So you want to go out, you try to go out, but you often find that the water's just still murky and shit, basically. Now a good example of that is if you go and watch that video, how much meat can I get from 50 mussels? This was Chris and I going out and diving around Taylor's Mistake, and this was like the beginning of springtime, and we're trying to go out and you know, have a good time diving on that day, and the water's just still murky green shit, basically. So September I've got available. But then what's happening for me personally at the end of September, September 25th exactly, is Coco and I are going back to China for a 3-week holiday. I have not been to China for 5 years now. It's been 5 years since I've been, mainly because of COVID. Right? COVID has come and it's sort of kind of gone now. And yeah, it's been a long time coming. But yeah, we've got a 3-week holiday in China, and that is happening from September 25th through to October 13th. Whilst I'm in China, I'm going to try to film a video, and the title of the video will be called like Chinese Kaimoana, and basically it'll be like a restaurant video where we travel to a few different seafood restaurants and we just get some seafood dishes, and you know, it'll be a culinary experience video. It won't be a dive video, but you'll still get to see some seafood, you know. So we'll go to a few seafood restaurants. So it'll be certainly a different video, not a dive video though, not a dive video, but it'll be quite different. And then I'm gonna get back from China, you know, sort of that mid-October time, and at that time, mid-October, we are literally days away from Labour Weekend, and Labour Weekend is will be the Kaikoura trip again for with the spearfishing club. So that's when it's really going to kick off. It's like, okay, back to Kaikoura for another, you know, long weekend of spearfishing. And after that, after those two things, the trip to China and the October trip, you know, it'll be then into November, December, January, and it's going to be full on. That's when it's really going to start and really going to kick off. That's when it's like, okay, you know, Tasman, you know, Chris, Tony, Ying, whoever I'm diving with, right, let's go to Mott now. That's when it's going to really kick off. So yeah, that's basically the plan for the next summer. And yeah, I hope I didn't miss anything out. If I have missed anything out and then I sort of think of it, you know, I'll put it into the YouTube comments somewhere. But anyway, right, I think we've finally reached the end of the video. So if you've made it all the way to the end, cheers. Thanks for watching. Cheers, cheers, cheers. E no hora. You want to see my cat? I got my fat cat over here. As we say in Chinese, Pang Mao. Pang Mao Zai Nali. Ta Jiao Floki. How you doing? So when I'm in China, you have to go into the cattery again. You didn't like going into the cattery last time. He was like, oh no, cattery. Not happy. Not happy. Go to the cattery.